Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description as well. Check that out.
Also, check out American-Giant.com. Use the promo code HAM for 15% off of high-quality, American-made gear.
Can't beat it, Guy. Can't beat American-Giant.com. Promo code HAM.
Hoodies, T-shirts, it's all there. Go get it. All right. How about the idea that the Niners tampered with Packers player Aaron Rodgers, John? Rob Domofsky of ESPN writes, the Packers are upset that teams may have contacted Rodgers to gauge whether he'd be interested in playing for them if they tried to make a trade. Sources say Rodgers does have a no-trade clause in his deal. The Niners and Broncos are among those teams. A league source said the Packers have not filed charges with the NFL because they know it's nearly impossible to prove. Keep in mind, I mean, it's only been a few days. I guess they still could. I know this. If the Niners did, they cannot afford to be punished for tampering. Jeremy Maclin, the Chiefs, tampered 3 days before free agency. They talked. It cost the Chiefs money. John Dorsey, Andy Reid got fined, but it also cost them 2 picks, among them a third. It cost them a third and I think a fifth or a third and a sixth. Niners cannot afford to lose a third-round pick for tampering.
No, I don't blame the Packers at all for being not happy with the whole situation. Obviously mad at Aaron for the way he's handling it, but you got to treat that one with kid gloves, but mad at the teams. Now, to me, what I would wonder, and for them to think tampering existed, when did they first start truly? You know, the teams of all, Kyle said things, you and I have reacted. We're getting the timeline through kind of the lies of the way teams are talking through the press conferences. It doesn't quite add up. I mean, were they really sniffing around like Tuesday or Wednesday? Or did they start making calls Thursday after the report surfaced, right? I think it was late Wednesday night that there were some weird things going on. We woke up to it Thursday, but I think it was kind of in the ether late Wednesday night. To me, that would signal, if you're the Packers, wait, you're calling me before these things go public? How did you know that he wanted out, right? Beside what he said over the year, I don't blame them at all. And if I'm the Niners, what are you supposed to do if his people tell you, like, call? Obviously, you got to call. I think it's just a tricky situation.
Yeah, I also think it's possible that the Niners received a call. David Dunn is his agent. David Dunn is a massive agent. David Dunn represents a lot of players. The draft was about to occur. David Dunn's agency, Athletes First, represents a bunch of players. You are talking to agents before the draft, right? So, you know, I've heard of coaches trying to get players to transfer in college saying, you got to call me, I can't call you. Whether or not there was tampering, whether or not they could prove it, that's one thing. I know this, the risk is just very high for a team that doesn't have a lot of picks. Now you could argue, is it, if they were to do it, a risk worth taking for the possibility of acquiring Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, that would be a risk worth taking. But to me, the first question I would have is, A, how do you prove it? And B, if his agent calls another team, I don't know what you're supposed to do about that.
Yeah, but if the agent starts talking about Aaron Rodgers, I do think they would get in trouble for tampering, even though it's out of your control. There is a reason, I think the headline, you don't think of it when you see it, but there's a reason that it gets publicized. A team has granted Guy Haberman the right and his representation to seek a trade. I think that happened with Zach Ertz over the offseason. It happens with a lot of guys that their contract situation's weird. They're good players often. They make a lot of money. Just the situation's complicated. You have to be open, though, to allowing that team. One thing's clear, right? The Packers are in no position to be like, Aaron Rodgers, check out the landscape. Let us know what the offers would be. They are not doing that. They're doing the opposite. No. So from Gutekunst's standpoint, I do get where he would be furious right now. Obviously, they're calling for his job in the papers / the internet. I guess the papers are dead. The internet.
Calling him Jerry Krause, apparently. Aaron called him Jerry Krause in the group text.
Got a quick take on that? You know who Brian Gutekunst would die to be?
Jerry Krause.
Jerry Krause built powerhouses.
Yeah, but
if Aaron is calling him Jerry Krause, like, well, Aaron, you're comparing yourself to Michael. Michael won 6 championships. You can't get over the hump again. Like, that you're actually giving him a compliment. Like, Jerry Krause is made fun of in the show, but he was a very good GM.
Yeah, but it's just we know what he's saying, right? Which is what Michael believed, which I could do this without you. But I saw somebody else tweet the same thing. Like, So he's calling he's calling Brian Gutekunst a really good executive who has built a winning team, because that's what he was, built a winning team. I mean, Jerry Krause is the one that hired Phil Jackson too. Don't forget that. That was his pick.
Did you see the story that kind of went viral? I just made it on some of my timelines on social media. Was that when they hired LaFleur, Murphy's comments to Aaron Rodgers were like, "We need you to kind of buy in." It was kind of like just one of those comments that a team president. I do wonder if Gutekunst and this whole thing is getting lumped in a little with Murphy as well. I do feel it's a little unfair unless Gutekunst has said things to him. But bottom line is,
you don't call a guy Jerry Krause in the context that you would do that, right? If that guy's just like a bystander, you call him that if you think he's the one breaking the whole thing up.
Did you see that Aaron Rodgers was telling 2020, like the free agents, some of the guys they ended up re-signing, I'm not going to be back in 2021.
Yeah.
So
he's trying to make it look bad.
Called his bluff.
Well, they offered me the most money. What do you want me to say? But
it's a complicated, disastrous situation for the Packers, and I do understand if you're going to go down, you're going to go down taking people with you.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Still, you got to prove it though. That's the difficulty here. As it relates to the Niners, they haven't cracked on their timeline, because you and I were wondering, wait, what exactly did John Lynch say? Kyle Shanahan early this week told Eisen. I called LaFleur, said I don't want to wake up having found out that he got traded and we didn't do our due diligence. Because remember the initial report, I was trying to find who tweeted it, that John Lynch had reached out initially. Lynch at his press conference said we. Lynch did not say I. I went back and watched it this morning. Lynch said we contacted them and got a quick no. So at least...
Well, the Vikings guy, the guy in Minnesota originally broke the story, remember?
Right.
I think it was Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
He said
so to me,
Thursday
it's not
morning.
weird if a story goes Thursday morning and you call after the story breaks, like, hey, we're just inquiring. That's not weird at all. To me, if they're calling Wednesday, then the story gets out, that's where it gets weird, right? And the Niners and Denver, whoever, could have a little problem on their hands.
Yeah, that's right. Because John Lynch's comment was we're reading the tea leaves. And so the question is, well, was the tea leaf the tweets?
Bill Murphy?
Or was the tea leaf, yeah. Or was the tea leaf somebody tipped you off that you might need to call the Packers, right?
Yeah.
So did the Packers
I'd imagine the Niners right now are just trying to get their story straight, right? Because ultimately what you said, the 6th round pick, whatever, a 3rd round pick would be a fucking body blow to the Niners, right? Yeah. Given that they are limited on picks.
Be huge. We
think about the couple guys they've drafted. Ahkello Witherspoon.
Exactly.
Flawed, whatever, starting corner for him. Fred Warner. Like, 3rd round picks are pretty freaking valuable, right? Who they just drafted this year. Trey Sermon, who I think if you just ask the casual Niner fan, they would think at worst he's like immediately their backup running back behind Mostert. So I'll be stunned if within the last 12, 24 hours, if they got wind that the Packers have been mad and going to turn them in, they're not just, hey, we need to get together and just get our story straight with old Rodgers and Troy Vincent when they come calling.
Yeah.
Because in fairness to the Packers, if me and you were Gutekunst and Murphy, I'd be all over Rodgers to be all over them, right? This is bullshit. This guy's our franchise player.
For sure. And if I were Raj or Troy Vincent, I'd say, how can we be sure your guy didn't call them first? And just said, hey, check in on the Packers. I'd be like,
Raj, Trey Lance. I mean, we're just calling. Like, we wanted Trey Lance. What are you talking about?
LaFleur would be like,
the difference is Macklin ended up on the Chiefs.
Right.
Rodgers is more, they're just getting made fun of, right?
Yeah, it could be he ends up on a particular team and then the Packers go after that specific team. Right.
But they would have to almost capitulate to their demands and trade him to that team.
Yeah, they'd have to trade. Yeah, I know. I checked up. Jeopardy begins.
Niners can just go like.
Yeah, well, I think one thing, if you're LaFleur, you're like, I got a call from the Broncos and the Niners 3 minutes apart before anything had been public. Like, that would be, that'd be something what maybe throws. The Raiders not mentioned. Now, it did say teams including. So did the Raiders call? Did the Raiders not call? I don't know. Jeopardy, some of Aaron's leverage. It starts up in about 3 months, season 38, John. Once they name a successor, that part of Aaron's leverage goes out the window if they don't name Aaron Rodgers their successor. So maybe they're waiting on Aaron. I don't know. But that's another part of the whole thing.
Did you know Joe Buck is in the mix?
I did see that Joe Buck was one of the people that, there's a bunch of people. Like Anderson, there's a ton of people. Did Joe actually
How could Aaron Rodgers beat out Joe Buck?
Just, them taking a swing for attention. They would get a lot of attention for Aaron. Problem is Aaron could go back.
Joe Buck, you say Anderson Cooper is in the mix for it?
I think I saw that name this morning.
What does the job pay? Clearly a decent amount.
QB
right?
money. Maybe not 2021 QB money, but like probably 2015 QB money. Trebek was a QB for 3 decades. I mean, what would you
have to be smart to You have to be smart to host the show?
I mean, Alex clearly was. Doesn't hurt, probably, but I mean, I think they could probably nurse you along. I just know this: Trebek was getting raises for 37 years, so it's a lot of
raises for 37 years.
Well, no, I'm just saying he did the job for 37 years. I mean, he was getting a raise every couple of years, right? Every 3-4 years.
Yeah,
it's a lot of raises.
To me, I mean, who knows? What if you record all the week's episodes on one day and you got it's like 6 days a week off?
By the way, I doubt he ever took a pay cut, and the show was only more valuable 20 years ago than it is today, I'm guessing. So
true. Good point.
Anyway, with Niners, hopefully they cover. If they did it, I would understand it. But to your point, you'd also understand if the Packers were incensed about it. Get your story
Kyle's
straight.
Like, burn the evidence.
Get your story straight. Phone logs.